Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
Gone are the days of wrestling with our favorite LJN wrestling figures, trying to convince them to stand up. What's a guy to do? I'll tell you what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to get on Etsy and look up 4 Left 3D Creations and get yourself these amazing custom LJN figure stands. There is a custom stand available for every single one of your LJN wrestling superstar figures. Make your display shine by grabbing these custom LJN stands from 4 Left 3D Creations today.
What's up, guys? Jason of New Year's Revolution Cave on this beautiful Sunday, October 8th, I think. We're going to do 2 videos today. 2, indeed, because because I feel like it. We're going to do a, this video is going to be number 3 in my 30 most memorable wrestling moments. And then we're going to play another, I assume, horror-themed game. We're going to try to play Maniac Mansion. I don't know if it's a horror game, but I have several of the Nintendo games down here, and then many more upstairs. And the good ones are upstairs. So Ghost and Goblins is upstairs. Friday the 13th is upstairs. Castlevania 2 is upstairs. Down here is like the scraps. So I went through the scraps and I found, Maniac Mansion. So we'll try to play that and see if it's any good. I've literally never played it, literally never seen a playthrough. So it might not be the most entertaining video. And that's some solid marketing for that upcoming video. But first we're going to talk about the my third memorable moment, number 3 of 30. Memorable wrestling moment, number 3 of 30. For that, we'll recap the day as we always do. It's a lovely rainy Sunday here. The weather is starting to become October-like, which makes me happy. I don't want it to be warm in October by any means. I want cold. I want to be able to, wear a jacket, and we're finally getting there. So I'm happy about that. The children had some friends over today, so their parents came as well. And initially I'm like, well, I can't be on for 4 hours. So I took off, as all good fathers do. I jumped in the car and took off, and I went to the mall, which is a joke. The mall is a shell of what it used to be. But I stopped in the old Hot Topic, as I do, and got a couple of awesome T-shirts. I got a new Korn T-shirt and a Michael Jackson Thriller T-shirt, which I am thrilled with. How about that? They will be screaming upstairs. You will hear noise upstairs. The friends have left, but the brothers are now playing Fortnite, so they will scream upstairs. Now, don't be concerned. They're not screaming in agony or anything. They're just, that's how you play Fortnite. If you're between the ages of 7 and 47, you scream when you play Fortnite, apparently. So that's that. Let's talk about my number 3 of 30 most memorable wrestling moments. We have talked about the Piper's Pit with Jimmy Snuka, the Coconut Incident, as it's grown to be known as. We've talked about LJNs with Howie, right? There's Sundays with Maury, and there's LJNs with Howie. We talked about that. Well, Howie has not left the show yet. He has not left the building, because my third most memorable wrestling moment, is WrestleMania 3. Bigger, better, badder? Yes, WrestleMania 3. And for Dick Borg, who asked me, why am I sitting with my arms on my knees? It's I have to, so that blood can circulate properly throughout my body. So several times a day I have to sit with my hands on my knees like this? Because you asked that question. Why am I sitting with my hands on my arms on my knees? I have to, or else I'll die. So, ask a silly question, you get a silly answer. WrestleMania 3. WrestleMania 3. What a moment. First of all, we haven't even gotten so a little spoiler, one of the 30 most memorable wrestling moments is going to be the Hogan Andre setup. How that came to be. How the biggest good guy in the world, Andre the Giant, turned bad. That's one of them. So hang in for that little spoiler. But WrestleMania 3 in and of itself was a massive, massive event. WrestleMania 1 was a glorified Madison Square Garden house show. WrestleMania 2 started to get some legs underneath it, but strangely, they put it in 3 different locations. And I still think it was a bit of a glorified, it was a mild super card. I mean, you had Mr. T versus, Piper in the boxing match. You had the Battle Royal with football. I guess it was getting some legs, but the 3 locations was just silly. But WrestleMania 3 was the first time that we really reached, some heights. The Pontiac Silverdome, the 97,000 plus fans packing, and I don't care how many were there. I know those are inflated numbers, but look at any, a picture of that arena for WrestleMania 3. It's insane. It's packed. But what do you need to make WrestleMania 3 happen? What do you need to make it as big as it was? You need something big. Hogan and Mr. T versus, Orndorff and Piper is big enough. WrestleMania 2, you got, again, Mr. T, you got the football players in the Battle Royal, you got Hogan and Bundy. But what do you need to make WrestleMania 3 huge? You need something over the top. And so we get the Andre the Giant heel turn, right? Unfathomable for a little 11-year-old brain. Andre the Giant is turning bad. And we'll get to the build. The build-up is another show. But WrestleMania 3 was special because Howie once again makes an appearance. I got to watch WrestleMania 3 on pay-per-view with Howie. But more than that, we watched it at a friend of his family's cottage, lakefront cottage, on Canisius Lake. Canisius Lake is a lake, apparently, in upstate New York. And this was not a cottage. I remember this being a lake home. So it was very nice. It was very nice. And it was a friend of Howie's father, I remember. And I don't know how it happened. I think there were other kids there, but I think they were a little younger. So it was still just me and Howie, doing our thing there. There were I don't know. We weren't the only kids there, but they weren't our friends. They were just, maybe that dad's kids or whatever. But I believe the event started at 4. And so, I remember being picked up by Howie and his dad at noon, right? And then driving what seemed like 3 days, but what was actually about an hour, to Canisius Lake, and then getting to this guy's house at, let's say, 2:00. And the show doesn't start until 4. And so the anticipation is so high. You got Steamboat and Savage, and you got Hogan and Andre. I don't think any of the other matches had, that much draw, but we were excited about Savage and Steamboat, and we were excited about Hogan and Andre. I mean, you can't even put a level, you can't even measure the excitement for Hogan and Andre. But take all that, and it's magnified because at 11 years old, I'm going on this, excursion to Canisius Lake. These children are, every time Fortnite is on, this is what they do. It's insane. But I'm going on this excursion so far away to this house on a lake. What is a lake house? I've never seen a lake house before. And so the specialness of it is magnified by so much. So I do remember playing around for the first couple of hours. I think maybe the grill was going, or pizza. I don't remember the details, but we were, we would eat before, and then I know we would run around, the lakefront, and it was March, so we weren't like swimming or anything. But I think I remember us playing hide and seek or tag or running up and down like a dock or something like that. And none of the other people at the event were like huge wrestling fans. So Howie and I, once 4:00 started, the shenanigans were over, and Howie and I were going to park ourselves in front of the TV and really just focus on WrestleMania. And what an event, what a fantastic event. And then, of course it culminates with Hogan and Andre. And, there's only a handful of things in wrestling that have that big of an impact. And Hogan and Andre, facing off in the ring, was just incredible. And Gorilla Monsoon used the immovable force meets the irresistible force meets the immovable object. And Gorilla Monsoon used that line all the time. But in this particular case, it fit, and we were just sitting there waiting for those two to like come to blows. Now, we're 11. The WWF doesn't exist to us before 84. We don't even know that the world even, we thought maybe the world started in 84. So we had no idea that Hogan and Andre had fought each other multiple times throughout, the very early 80s. With Hogan as bad guy, which unfathomable, versus Andre. We didn't know that happened. We didn't know that Andre had never been, or had been body slammed multiple times before. We didn't know that. So, Hogan and Andre was just too much. It was too much. It was just so much to enjoy. And then, so it goes, I think it was a 4-hour event, 3 or 4 hours, but now you got to drive home after the event. And again, another, 12, 15-hour drive, an hour. But you get to go home now. And guess what? I believe it was on a Sunday. Was WrestleMania 3 on a Sunday? Because if it was, you're going to school the next day. And you're running into Howie. And you're like, we know what happened last night. That was awesome. The drive home in the dark is like, for an 11-year-old, is just over the top special, So there's just so much wrapped up in that. WrestleMania 3, my number 3 of my 30 most memorable wrestling moments, and probably not the last time we hear from Howie. Probably not the last time. In fact, I don't want to say too much, but we spoke today. We haven't talked in a couple of years, and I told him, hey, you're being, talked about on the channel. There may be an appearance. Howie's in California, so there's either going to be maybe a a live appearance next year if he comes to town, or we might get a Zoom thing going. I don't know. There might be a Howie interview, which would really just be two nerds talking about their childhood. Which, if you watch this channel, that's all I do. We'll see. But that's it. WrestleMania 3, moment number 3 of 30. WrestleMania 3, Canisius Lake, Hogan Andre, unbeatable. That is all. Maniac Mansion. Go check out the next video that I'm going to do. Maniac Mansion. Good night now.